Well, hello, boys and girls. This is Unchained CEO, and today we're going to talk about what we always talk about here at Unchained CEO, location-independent income through a location-independent laptop-based business that sets you free from your horrible 9-to-5 job or your gigs and your collapsing Western country, and or possibly moving to a less bad country, or at least setting up an international backup plan, which is what we'll talk about today, and doing all these things for very little money. And I am Caleb Jones. And I'm having a really good day. God damn, I'm having a good day. My lips are still fucked up. I had an allergic reaction about a week ago. So if my mouth looks funny as I talk, I can't like move my lips as much as I can. Anyway, getting through it. Don't even care. Today we're going to talk about, hang on, I need a drink. Hang on a second. Should have taken a drink and cleared my throat before I started this live stream. Hang on. Today, we're going to talk about the top 5 countries, in my opinion and in my analysis, that make for the best international backup plan. And before we talk about that, we got to talk about what an international backup plan means. So when I say international backup plan, I don't just mean some country you like that you can move to someday. I have a very specific definition for this, and here's the definition. When I say international backup plan, that means a country that you like, that you have full legal residency in. You don't have a permanent residency. Temporary residency is okay as long as you keep renewing it. Temporary, permanent doesn't matter, but you have legal residency there. You cannot have an international backup plan if you're going to use visitors visas, because if there's a war, economic collapse, pandemic, they won't let you into the country. So you have to have actual legal residency there for it to qualify as your backup plan. First thing. Second thing is, you need to have a bank account there. And in most countries, you need to have residency before you make a bank account. In most countries, not all, but most. A bank account there in their local currency with a debit card with a Visa or MasterCard symbol on it, so you can utilize those funds and operate economically in the country. Third, you have some stuff there that you like in terms of, creature comforts. Like when I have a storage unit there in a backup country, I'll have like a really good office chair because I sit and I work a lot. I'll have a fan because I like to have fan on me when I go to sleep. Things like that. You can't bring that stuff back and forth every time you go to your backup plan on an airplane. Can't bring a chair or a big fan, right? That'd be dumb. So you have some kind of mechanism where you can leave stuff there. That's either a storage unit or an apartment or a home. Apartment or home, if you can't afford that, that's fine. But some countries are very cheap. You can do that. Otherwise, you get a storage unit. I have storage units all over the world. And before I moved to Dubai and Paraguay, that's what I did. I had storage units there, and then they became my full flags. So that's what an international backup plan means. It's a place where once you have all this set up, you have residency set up there, you've got a bank account there, you've got stuff there, and you also kind of know like where to live, the best places in that city, where to hang out, where to not hang out, how to get groceries, how to get medical care, things like that. Then whenever there's a major problem in your collapsing Western country, which there will be in your lifetime, there's already shit going on now in terms of Western collapse, in terms of possible AI takeover, in terms of the next war, the next pandemic, the next whatever. While everyone else in your collapsing Western country is freaking the fuck out, you just go to your international backup plan. They have to let you in regardless of what's going on in the world because you have a legal resident, your legal residency there, and then you're good. That's what an international backup plan means. This is what you have to set up, in my opinion, if you're not willing to leave your collapsing Western country yet. Now, ideally, you should leave. I don't know why you still live in the United States. I don't know why you still live in Canada. I don't know why you still live in the UK. I don't know why you still live in Australia or Germany. I don't know why you people insist on living in these countries. I don't get it. But okay, I understand. I'm weird. If you just can't stomach the fact of leaving your country yet, then at a very bare minimum, you have to have an international backup plan. So when your country does collapse, which it will in your lifetime, if it's a Western country, with rare exception, you have somewhere to go. Okay. So that's what international backup plan means. Now I'm going to talk about the top 5 countries of the world. I'm actually going to give you 2 bonuses. I'm going to talk about top 7 that, in my analysis, are the best ones to have as an international backup plan. Now, one qualifying factor for all these countries is because you need legal residency in these countries to use them as a backup plan, you need that, and you're not going to move to that country yet, then you need to have a country that doesn't require you to live there to get legal residency there. Now, there are about 27, 28 countries in the world out of the 195 or so in the world that allow you to do this. Most countries, you have to live there to get residency. You have to promise you're going to live there, and then they'll give you residency under certain conditions. But there's about 27, 28 countries where you don't have to live there. You got to go there, you got to do stuff there, but you don't have to live there. So yeah, that's self-explanatory. You can't move to a country. You can't use a country as a national backup plan if you have to physically live there immediately. Now, if you're willing to move out of your country, go somewhere else, then this is not relevant. You can go anywhere you want for the most part. Okay. So that narrows down our choices from 195 countries in the world down to about less than 30. Now, a lot of these countries, especially the ones in Asia, you don't need to live there, but you need to put a lot of money down. You got to put down $100,000 or $50,000 or $75,000. Well, that kind of sucks. Now, if you have a lot of money, great. But if you don't, kind of lame. And even if you do have a lot of money, maybe you want to plop down $75,000 so you get residency in Vietnam or whatever. Okay, makes sense. So we want countries where you don't have to live there to get residency, and they don't require you to spend a lot of money to get the residency. Cool, makes sense. And thirdly, they have to be livable countries you would live in, and if you needed to, or at least spend several months a year there. Right? You probably don't want to use a backup country in, one of the worst countries in Africa. That's probably not a country you want to move to, right? Okay. So here they are. And this is no really in any particular order, but kind of an order. So I'll start with the number one easiest one for most Westerners in terms of our top 5 countries used as a backup plan. That would be Mexico. So Mexico is really convenient for Americans and Canadians. It's a very short flight. It's the same time zones for the most part. A lot of people speak English. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. There's lots of really cool cities and cool areas of cool cities all over Mexico. Contrary to what most stupid Americans think, Mexico, most of Mexico, the parts of Mexico you would move to are very safe. Most of these parts of Mexico are actually safer than most of the big countries in the United States as the United States continues to collapse and as crime rates continue to rise and as civil unrest continues to rise. If you're not aware of those things, you should watch the last podcast live stream I did about a week ago called Why the USA is Collapsing, All the Stats. I suggest you watch that or listen to it so you understand what's going on with your country. So anyway, Mexico, and you don't have to live there to get residency. Cool. You don't have to spend a hunk of money to get residency there. As a matter of fact, residency there is the cheapest. Of all these options I'm going to give you, the cheapest one is Mexico. Matter of fact, if you want to get residency in Mexico and go to a retreat with Billy and her coaches in Cancun, you go to bosscooperative.com, and there's a February event there where it covers the residency in Mexico. You get residency in Mexico. It covers the event. It covers all your food. It covers all your flights. bosscooperative.com, and you click on the Cancun thing. Okay. What else? Mexico. Here's something really cool about Mexico and the rest of it, which I didn't know about until about a year or two ago. I have permanent residency in Mexico. When you talk about permanent residency and temporary residency, it's usually bullshit. Permanent residency means you got to renew it in like 5 years or 10 years or 8 years. Temporary residency means you got to renew it every year or two. But permanent, you still have to renew. So is it permanent? No. So the difference between permanent and temporary is really semantics. However, Mexico is one of the few countries in the world where permanent residency actually is permanent. Once you get permanent residency in Mexico, which means you have to have temporary residency for a few years, it's permanent for the rest of your life. There's nothing to renew. You're just a resident there for the rest of your life, and you don't have to go there very much. It's amazing. And on top of that, something I am strongly considering doing is that once you have, I think, permanent or temporary, maybe it's permanent residency. Once you have that in your pocket, if you spend 6 months a year in Mexico, 6 months a year for 3 years, you can apply for citizenship and get a Mexican passport. And contrary to what Americans think, the Mexican passport's actually pretty damn good. It's a good passport. So Mexico is just awesome all over the place. It's great. Well, I don't like Mexico. Okay, I have other options for you, but Mexico that's why it's number one on this list. It's the shit. It's awesome. Downsides to Mexico. Well, Hang on, let me check here. Downsides to Mexico. There's only one. There is an income requirement, and they look at the last 3 to 6 months of checking account statements, depending on your embassy, your Mexican embassy. So if you make no money at all, then they're going to want to see that you have some money, a big hunk of money in savings. So if you don't make any money, or you make very, very little money, and you have no money in savings, you may not qualify for Mexican residency. You don't need to make very much. I think it's $2,800 a month. Don't quote me on that figure. I could be wrong because it changes all the time. So you don't need to make a lot of money. Maybe $3,000 USD a month, I think. I don't remember what it is. I know they just raised it recently. So that's the one negative, possible negative. Other than that, I can't think of any negatives. Mexico's awesome. I have it. It's great. I love Mexico to death. I didn't go to Mexico at all last year, so I kind of miss it. So I'll have to go back maybe this year. Matter of fact, I will go back this year, unless I do something else with Italy. I can't talk about that, though. All right, so that's number one. Number two, let's say you want residency in a Latin country and you don't want to get any sort of income check. Great. That is one of my living flags, Paraguay. That's number two. So Paraguay they will give you full residency there. It'll be, you start with temporary and then you get permanent. You can actually go right to permanent, but it costs a little more money. There is no income check, but there is a criminal background check. Now, there's no criminal background check in Mexico. There is in Paraguay. So if you have something on your criminal record, that doesn't mean you can't get residency. You have to add in another sheet of paper that comes from your court that signifies that whatever you have on your record, you did your time. It was the charge was satisfied, which it probably was. And then you're fine. So it's not like if I have anything on my record, I can't get residency in Paraguay. Yes, you can. Just got to show that it was satisfied. That's it. Real simple. They really don't care. They just need to see that it was satisfied. Paraguay is relatively cheap in terms of getting residency, a little more expensive than Mexico, but not much. Paraguay is very different than Mexico. I live there half the year. I'm going to be back there in April for a few months because I have an apartment there. And I love Paraguay. Is Paraguay for everyone? No. It is lower economically than Mexico. So it's a little rougher than Mexico in terms of its infrastructure, but it's cheaper than Mexico, a lot cheaper. Mexico, as many of you live in Mexico, you know this. Prices have really gone up lately because Mexico is economically rising, both benefiting from United States and China. It's benefiting from both. That's why the economy of Mexico is doing pretty well. Paraguay is very cheap. It's 1/8 the cost of the United States. So it's super duper duper cheap. But it's a little rough around the edges in terms of the infrastructure and things like that. It's also difficult to get to, which is why I like it, because it's one of the best places to use as a backup flag in case the United States, the West collapses. Paraguay is not going to notice any difference. I've said this many times. If the United States collapsed tomorrow morning, people in Paraguay wouldn't even notice a difference. They'd hear about it in the news, and their lives would go on just fine. So if you live in Paraguay, and America collapses, Canada collapses, Europe collapses, you'll be fine. Unless, all your money comes from America, but that's a separate conversation. Paraguayan residency. You have to, just similar to Mexico, you have to be down there for about 2-3 weeks, about 2 weeks or so for the process. There is a second piece that is optional, but strongly recommended, called getting your cedula. And your cedula is your international ID card, your national ID card. It's a little laminated card that says, yes, I'm a citizen. You don't need that to get residency and have it qualify as your backup, because they still have to let you in even without a cedula. But once you get your cedula, you can do all kinds of cool shit like start a corporation, open bank accounts. You can use it to travel anywhere, not anywhere, but almost anywhere in South America without a passport. It's badass. Cedula, you can buy property down there. You can buy a place. You can do all that with your cedula. So you get residency, then you get your cedula. Because it's the Latin world, it's a little fucked up. There's a lot of delays right now with cedula. It might take you another several months after you get residency to get your cedula. It took me years to get my cedula because it was also pandemic related, but we've had some delays with that, and that's with the Paraguayan government. You just got to be really patient. There's nothing much you can do about it, but you'll eventually get it. And I love Paraguay. I've done entire videos on Paraguay. You can watch those at the Unchained CEO YouTube channel and my podcasts. By the way, this is a podcast. If you prefer the audio version of this and you watch the video version, you can go to calebjones.com/podcast and listen to the podcast version of this. Love Paraguay. Can't wait to go back. Although I am loving Dubai right now because This is the perfect time of year to be in Dubai. The air quality is perfect. The weather is perfect. It's just, I'm going outside I love it. So great segue. Third one is the United Arab Emirates, which is Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So that is another place that you can use as a backup flag if you wish. Pros and cons of the United Arab Emirates. Well, here's the benefit of it. When you get, as part of, assuming you're going to get residency the way we recommend, you're also going to get a free zone Dubai corporation in addition to your residency. The way it works is you get a free zone corporation and they just give you residency. And you don't have to set up a checking account or anything for that corporation. Now, what I recommend you do if you get residency in Paraguay, Dubai, and I use the word Dubai and United Arab Emirates interchangeably. I understand Dubai as a city and United Arab Emirates as a country. I love haters who say, Dubai is not a country. Thank you very much. As if I didn't know that because I live here. So when you get residency in Dubai, I do recommend you get at least a personal checking account for the same reasons I talked about. So you can set up a bank account here and you can use that as a real backup, an international backup plan. Use Dubai. Dubai is amazing. We have virtually no crime here. We have the best infrastructure in the world, the best schools in the world, the best healthcare in the world, the most beautiful women in the world. I mean, it's win, win, win all over the place. Negatives of Dubai. I have entire videos on the positive side negatives because I've lived here for 4 years now. It gets very hot here in the summer, June, July, and August. A little bit in September, it gets very, very hot. So extreme heat's not something you can handle. Then you got to think about that. But if it's your backup plan, that shouldn't matter. You still use it as a backup. You're not going to live here. You just use it as a backup. So fine. And that's why what I do is when it gets hot here, I go to Paraguay during the summer, which is their winter in quotes, which is like 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It's beautiful there in Paraguay. So I have year-round perfect weather. It's a little more expensive. Not a little more, it's a lot. So Dubai residency is a hunk of money. You're going to spend anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 to get the residency and the corporation. You also have to renew the corporation, because it costs a few $1,000s a year. Now, if you're already making money, the way that works is you offshore your corporation to Dubai, you save a bunch of money on taxes. So who cares if you got to spend $12,000 or $10,000? You save, $100,000 in taxes. That's a pretty good ROI. So that's fine. What else? Are there other ways of getting residency in the UAE? Yes, but they're all more complicated. Kind of outside the scope of this particular podcast, but that's the other one. If you are a business owner, if you are really into nice places, if you're into lifestyle, Dubai. I've had numerous people in my audience. They come visit Dubai and they go, oh my God, I'm moving here, including close friends of mine. I have buddies here who now live here because they visited Dubai once. They said, oh my God, holy shit, we're sold. Me and my wife are sold. We're here. And yes, I've had a few people in my audience who come to Dubai. They go, I hate it. And it's usually because they hate cities. So if you hate cities, don't come to Dubai. Please do not do that. You'll hate it. That's why Billy hasn't been here, because she doesn't like big cities. That's why I'm covering the gamut. Mexico, Paraguay, you have like more rural, more simple, and more city stuff, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Next one. The only one in Europe that I recommend, Armenia. Armenia is one of the fastest residencies you will get in the world. You do not have to move there. The beauty of Armenia is it takes the least amount of paperwork and bullshit. So you go to Armenia, you give them your passport, they take it away for 2 or 3 days, you come back, you have residency. That's it. No criminal background check, no having set up a corporation, no filling out a bunch of forms. It's that simple. Awesome. Armenia is growing. It is technically in Europe, but it's more in the Caucasus, so it's kind of between Europe and Asia. It does not border Russia, which is great. It does border Azerbaijan, which is an issue. So I don't recommend Armenia as a living flag, but as a backup flag, hell yes, it's awesome. Yerevan is a really cool city. The people are really friendly. They're really nice. If you're single, a lot of men are into Armenian women. It's a very, the Kim Kardashian thing. That's Armenian, right? They don't speak a lot of English like Paraguay. They speak a lot of Armenian and Russian there. What else? It's beautiful landscape, beautiful mountains. I mean, Armenia is insanely, ridiculously beautiful. It's amazing. Downsides to Armenia. You will have to give the Armenian government around $6,000 in addition to your residency fees. It still ends up being less than Dubai a little bit. But what it does is it gives you a 10% ownership stake in an Armenian corporation. And then that allows you to get your residency. That's just how they do it there. And technically, you could maybe someday get the money back, but we just say probably not. You'll probably never see it back. So I own 10% of a vineyard about an hour and a half outside of Yerevan that I had to buy for my residency there. Okay. Also, there are passport options for Armenia that are pretty simple. If you want to spend a little money after you get residency, they'll give you a passport. If you don't want to spend any money, you wait 3 years. You take a test in Armenian, give you a passport. You don't have to move there. Awesome. Badass. It's great. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth best one. And I'm going to give you a bonus. There are 3 countries that tie for number 5, in my opinion. Okay. They're all in the Latin world. And these are all countries that are decent flags, decent places to live in. They're all slightly different. They have pros and cons. I'm not a super big expert in these 3 countries, except for one of them. And but they all allow you to get residency without having to move there. Those are Panama, DR, Dominican Republic, and Costa Rica. Those 3. Very popular. Panama is very popular. DR is reasonably popular. Costa Rica is very popular. A lot of people love Costa Rica. All 3 of these countries, you can get legal residency there without having to move there, without having to spend a bunch of money. And I'll go through each one really quick. Panama, they speak English. They use American money. They use American dollars. It's awesome. Very high tech. It's the highest tech, fanciest city in the entire Latin world. It looks like Hong Kong. People are shocked when they go to Panama City. It's great. Nowhere near Dubai, but nothing is. But it's awesome. Like Panama a lot. The problem with Panama, residency is kind of a nightmare. You have to be very, very, very patient. You'll have to make several trips to Panama, not 1, not 2, but several, because they'll fuck up your paperwork and you got to fly back there. You'll get paperwork from the embassy that you require in the United States or Canada, wherever you are. You'll bring it to Panama. You'll give it to them in Panama. They'll say, this is filled out wrong. You need to come back. And they're like, you'll be like, this is from your embassy. I've got you guys have reported this to me. This is from your embassy. We don't care. Fuck you. So you run into a lot of that shit. It's very complex and convoluted. Panama's made it more and more difficult to get residencies there, but it is still possible. And once you get the residency, it is a decent place to live. It is not one of my favorites anymore. It used to be. It's gotten worse, but it's still good. It's still on my recommended list. Panama's great, especially if you want to live in a country that is near the United States / Canada, or in some cases Europe, and you don't need to learn a language because they speak English there. Everyone speaks English. Damn near everyone speaks English in Panama. Unlike Paraguay, where 90% of people don't have any English. Cool. It's not as cheap as other places in the Latin world, but it's nice. You're on the water. It's beautiful. It's great. Dominican Republic and Costa Rica. Don't have a lot of details on this, but I do know you can get residency in either one of these countries without having to move there. And I do know that everyone who goes to Dominican Republic and Costa Rica, especially Costa Rica, love it. I mean, I have a brother who loves Costa Rica. Oh my God. He wants to move here, but his wife won't let him, of course. So very valid options for the Latin world. Some English, not a lot of English, but some. I think more people speak English in DR than in Costa Rica, but you still have plenty of people who speak English in Costa Rica because there's a lot of expats, things like that there. That's it. What else do I want to say about this? Those are 7. Now, there's other countries besides these 7, but those are my top 7 in the world in terms of ease of getting residency, somewhere you would like to live, lifestyle is good, relatively convenient based on travel and things like that. So if you're in Europe, Dubai is super convenient. United States or Canada, Mexico, Panama, super convenient. Paraguay is not really convenient. DR is somewhat convenient. So all that stuff. Let's see here. What else do I want to say about that before I answer your questions? I see a lot of questions here. Panama just joined Mercosur. Oh, really? I didn't know that. So if you have, that means Mercosur means that if you have a cedula from Paraguay, you can now go visa-free to Panama. Pretty cool. I didn't know that. It's awesome. Okay, great. That's it. Before I get to the questions, I'm just going to remind you, if you live in the collapsing Western world, especially what I call the collapsing trifecta, which are the top three that are going to go down fast, United States, Canada, and Western Europe. You live in these regions or countries, you must have an international backup plan if you're not leaving. If you're planning on leaving in the next 18 months, you have an active plan to move out of these countries forever, good for you, then you don't have to worry about this. If you're not going to leave in the next 18 months, you're like, I don't know, Trump will fix everything. If you're a moron, if you don't want to leave your collapsing Western country because you're really smart, then you are required, in my world, to have an international backup plan. You are stupid if you do not have an international backup plan in the year 2025. With the way the West is going, I gave you all the stats a week ago, with what's coming on with AI, with all kinds of other problems we could talk about that I'm not going to. Not having an international backup plan is the equivalent of you driving around and never wearing a seatbelt. Statistically speaking, you're going to get in a reasonably decent car accident at some point in your life, probably several times. If you're not wearing a seatbelt, you're probably going to die. You're like, well, I don't want to wear a seatbelt. Well, then you're an idiot. So it's the same thing in not having an international backup plan if you don't intend on leaving your collapsing Western country within the next 12 to 18 months. And I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. And if you don't believe me, please go watch or listen to the podcast I did a week ago called Why the USA is Collapsing, All the Stats. I go through about 100 different statistics in 21 different areas of why the USA and Canada and Europe are collapsing right now and will collapse in your lifetime. To just throw your arms there and say, I don't want to do this, you're insane. I don't know what the hell you're thinking. Unless I just finished my book. You'll hear about that in a few days. Unless you're very old. If you're like 80 years old, like my dad is like 84, I'll be dead by then. Okay, great. Most of you aren't dead. Right? Or are about to be dead. Cool? Cool. So take this seriously. Don't fuck around. If you don't have this in place, let 2025 be the year you get your shit together so you can relax the rest of your life. I don't have to worry about this stuff like you Americans do. And you people in the UK, all this shit about the rape shit going on in there. I don't have to worry about this stuff because I live in Dubai and Paraguay, two places that A, are awesome, B, are rising, and C, will be okay when the West collapses. So I don't have to worry about this shit. I'm happy while you guys are all stressed out. Wookie. Let's answer your questions. Zoom this up here. If someone was interested in getting residencies in Dubai and Paraguay, do you think it might be better to start with Paraguay as it would probably cost less? I don't know how much money you have. If you're strapped for cash, then yes. I want to move out of the West, but 3 countries I'm interested in moving to have a lengthy and convoluted process of getting residency. It messed up my vision and my plan too, because I want to live there. I'm not interested in other countries other than these 3. What do I do? Pick one. Don't focus on 3 countries at the same time. One at a time. That's the first mistake you're making. One country at a time. Okay? One. Pick the country that is the least convoluted process and take the time and effort and get it done. If you need to go visit there 3 or 4 times, you go visit there 3 or 4 times. You power through it. I took all of 2020 and 21. I blew my brains out. Some of you watched videos when I was doing this. I took like 18 months and I flew all over the world 27 times and blew my brains out. I got sick. It sucked. But I got all my residencies and all my five flag shit done. So now that is set in stone for the rest of my life. I never need to worry about this. It was worth it. I would do it again. And it was a rough time for me. Paperwork, attorneys, accountants, advisors, flying here, then flying there, then flying there, then flying there, and flying 14 hours here, and then spending 3 hours and flying another 8 hours there. And it sucked. But I wanted to just get this shit done so I didn't have to worry about it like most of you are worrying about this. I don't worry about this now. So I'm happy I did it. It's a worthwhile ROI. For those of us who don't mind toughing it out, what 3 African countries do you recommend setting up a base or residency? I can only tell you what African countries are best to move to and do business in. I can't tell you about residency because I've done no research on that. If you look on my Unchained CEO YouTube channel, search on Africa, and I talk about the top 8 countries you could look at Africa. 8 or 9. There's about 8 or 9 countries in Africa that are doable if you're willing to tough it out. The other ones, don't even go there. You'll get shot. Do digital nomad visas count? No, not for an international backup plan. For being a nomad, sure, great. For an international backup plan, no type of visas count. Only residency counts. That's it. Now, some countries, UAE is one of them, you get residency and you get a visa. And they call it a visa, but it's really a residency. Okay, so just be aware that sometimes those terms are interchangeable depending on the country. I'm talking about residency. No type of visa counts in terms of a visa that expires in 90 days or 180 days. If your visa expires in a year or 2 or 3, then it counts. And you're easily able to renew it. No matter what happens in your life, then you're okay. Thoughts on growing demographic pushing against expats? I'm seeing subreddits of people complaining about expats because they claim they're raising real estate and general prices. Get off those forums. I don't know why you're on those forums. This is useless. No, there's no big thing against expats. These are in very niched areas. No, you're fine. Will governments take action on this, make it harder for independent Westerners to relocate unless you work a location dependent in their job? Yes. This stuff gets more difficult every year, as I've been saying for about 6 years now. I've been saying this for 6 years. Every year you wait on this stuff, it gets harder to do. So you don't want to fucking wait. Is it going to be harder to get these residencies, these 7 residencies I just talked about, in 5 years? Yes. So do it now. Don't wait. Once you have the residency, you're okay. They don't revoke it from you. They don't take it away. Once you have a second path, they don't take it away. You've got it forever, as long as you keep renewing it. That's okay. But if you wait and wait and wait, yes, this stuff will get, yes, governments all over the planet are cracking down on this stuff. Using their 2 favorite excuses, terrorism and money laundering. That's their 2 favorite excuses, which are both bullshit. Yes, don't wait. This isn't the time to be picky, as you mentioned hyper flexibility is a must, but how can you grow to adapt to a country you're not too excited about? I wouldn't go to a country I wasn't excited about. Go to a country you like. You don't have to love it. There are things about Dubai I don't like. There are things about Paraguay I don't like, but I like them. Now, in my case, I love them. I love Dubai. I love Paraguay. You don't have to love it. You have to like it. If you're like, oh, this place kind of sucks, well, don't move there. You have so many options. Don't go somewhere that you'll hate, because then you'll be resistant to, or an international backup plan, you'd never live it, because then you'll be resistant to do it when you need to do it. Now, if you love it or like it a lot, but there's a few things you don't like, welcome to life. That's normal. Those of you who live in the United States, there are probably things about the United States you don't like, right? But you live there. There's no such thing as a perfect country. So you're talking about 2 different things. If you don't really like it, don't go there. If you like it, not love it, like it, but there's a few things you don't like, suck it up, buttercup, and do the best you can. I mean, what did I not like about Dubai? Too fucking hot in the summer. So what did I do? I set up a flag in Paraguay and I go there. You make this shit work. Well, I can afford that. Okay, do whatever you can do. If I move to the Philippines, do I still need to have another international backup plan in case something happens to the Philippines? Very good question. That's optional. If you live in a non-Western country, you do not, in my world, you are not required to have an international backup plan. You don't need one. No. Now, if you are a moron and you move from one Western country to another collapsing Western country, then obviously, yes, you do. I love these Americans who move to the UK. What the fuck are you doing? Or these Americans move to Canada, or these Canadians who move to Germany. What the fuck? Christ. So if you're stupid, then yes. But if you live outside of the West, no, you don't. For extra credit, then you could. That's what I did. I live in a non-Western country. I live in Dubai, and now I have a backup plan and a backup living flag, Paraguay. So I have a backup to my backup to my backup, because I like to have all these T's crossed and I's dotted. But that's not required. It's up to you. How important is it for my 25-year future to get rid of my American passport if I make under the FEIE amount? Is having only American passport for the rest of my life okay? Is it okay? Yes, it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. Now, the other thing is, do you plan on not making any money in the next more money than in the next 25 years? You're going to make the same amount of money now you will in 20 years. That sounds kind of shitty to me. So you got to think that through too. Why make less than 130,000, Caleb? Okay, you make that now. 20 years from now, you're still going to make the same. Now, if the answer is yes, then it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay. Please do a live stream describing the day in the life of the typical American man after the collapse of the United States. Can't do that because there are 5 different collapse scenarios, and it'll look different under each of those 5. So I can't do that. I'd have to do 5 different live streams, and I'm not going to do that because you have currency crisis, balkanization, secession, war, terrorism, authoritarianism. There's all these different scenarios, and life's going to look very different. Life for the typical American is going to look very different in the authoritarian collapse scenario than the hyperinflation currency crisis scenario, for example. Makes sense? So I can't do that. We cannot predict when the collapse will occur, because I know a lot of you want exact dates. Sorry, but we don't know. And we can't predict exactly which of the 5 scenarios it will be. All I can predict, and I'm going to be right because I'm usually right about these things, my prediction rate in terms of being right is over 85%. You can go back to my blogs and look, is that the collapse will happen in your lifetime, which means you need to prepare for this now. You'll be alive when this shit happens. Am I freer living in the Philippines than the United States? Yes, even though the heritage freedom score is much lower. Yes. I remember you talked about this. How did this work? Because same thing with Mexico. Mexico, the freedom index score is lower. But if you're an American expat living in Mexico or the Philippines with location-independent income, and you do not have a passport in these countries, you're following 5 flags rules, you don't have a passport where you live, less laws apply to you than the people who are born and raised there. And the government doesn't mess with you unless you mess with it. Whereas in the United States, the government's messing with you all the time. That's why. So yes, you are far, far more free. Those ratios, those indexes are talking about people who are born and raised there. Occasionally I'll get comments saying, you think Colombia is a great place to move? I was born and raised here and I live here and it's fucking horrible. Yeah, it's horrible for you. You were born and raised in Colombia. Go to Paraguay and ask people who live in Paraguay if they love Paraguay. Like, no, it sucks here. Yeah, it sucks for them. For you, it's awesome. 1 year away from getting my New Jersey licensure. I don't know how to pronounce that. Licensure to be an Alpha 2.0 doctor. Currently financially dependent on my parents. If my parents financially support me, would they allow me to get residency in Mexico? You'd have to show income somehow. I'm not sure how that would work. I don't know. Talk to Billy. BossCooperative.com and ask Billy that question. She'll answer it. By that, I mean the Mexican embassy of my parents' financial support. But yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. Can you say, yeah, I have income from my parents? Probably not, but maybe Mexico wouldn't care. That's a question for Billy. I don't know the answer to that question. Would you recommend Paraguay over Mexico because of West scores? Yes, I would. If that's your primary reason for moving is having a high WES score, Paraguay way beats Mexico. Yes. Yes, correct. Mexico will have some problems when America collapses. Yeah. Paraguay won't even matter. But there are people who love Mexico who don't like Paraguay. Again, you can't move somewhere you hate, but you're going to move there just because it has a certain score, right? You have to go to Paraguay for a week or two and see if you like it. You may love it. Billy fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. Many of you are there now. Many of you moved there. You fell in love with it. Some people have gone there going, So it's up to you. Same thing with Dubai. People come to Dubai, they love it. Some people go to Dubai and go, oh my God, fuck this. Everyone's different. What do you think about Morocco? I think Morocco is pretty cool. I don't think it's growing or dying. I think it's just kind of hanging around. Will it be the next Dubai? No, it will not. A lot of us friends are going there for vacations saying it's getting better and better. It will not be the next Dubai, no. The next Dubai will be Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Or would getting an international backup plan through Boss Cooperative be just for people who already have location? Yeah, ask Billy. I want to get the fuck out of the United States. LOL. Good. Do it. Hi, Caleb. What are your top 3 countries to incorporate an online business location independent? Really depends on how much money you're making. If you're starting from zero, it's a brand new business, you're not making any money, then you're looking at places like Estonia, maybe Dubai, places like that. If you're already making some money, BVI, British Virgin Islands. Already bought. Have a plan to depart this in the next 3. What's 3 mean? 3 out of 3? 3 years? Oh, 3/3.5 years. Is that too long? Yes, that is way too long, in my opinion. Yes, I would never live in the United States another 3.5 years. I would never. If you're already there, it's your past due. And I'm not saying this to be hyperbolic. I mean this. I left in 2021. So if you're still in the United States in 2025, or Canada, or UK, or France, or Germany, or Australia, you're still there. You're already several years behind schedule, in my view. Well, what if I went on another 3 years? You have no idea how bad shit's going to be in about 5 years. And I'm going to show this to all the Trump guys. Think Trump's going to fix everything. Elon's going to fix everything. You have no idea. If you're a Trump supporter, you have no idea how angry you're going to be in about 5 years, which is 1 year out of when Trump is out of office. Get ready. So no, it's way too long, in my opinion. And those of you who follow my content for a long time, you already know this. My original plan back in 2012 for many years was to move out of the United States in what year? 2025. That was the year I was planning on leaving. Then the pandemic hit. Then the economic stuff hit. Then the riots hit. I said, oh my God, I'm not waiting to 2025. I'm getting the fuck. And in the summer of 2020, I said, I'm getting the fuck out of here now. And in February 2021, I was out. I upped my timetable by 4 years. So now it's the year I would have left, 2025. So if you're still waiting after this, you're really behind, in my opinion. What about Latvia? Oh, what about Latvia? Latvia is similar to Armenia. You can use it as a backup flag. I don't know if you can get legal residency in Latvia without having to live there. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think you can. I think you have to live there. You cannot live in Latvia because it fails the adjacent enemy rule. Adjacent enemy rule states, and I've done many videos on this, if a country is bordering another country that is violent and likes to invade other countries, or a country that hates it, you can't live there more than 6 months a year. And unfortunately, Latvia borders Putin, so you can't do it. Russia and China are collapsing as well. Russia is collapsing. China has some serious problems. Don't know if China is collapsing. Don't know about that yet. But they are having very serious problems. Yes. Russia is collapsing, although slower than the U.S. Correct. And give it that long because I'm looking to use up as much of President-elect Donald Trump for your term to build and take off. You're making a lot of assumptions that everything's going to be fine. A lot of you Trump idiots are making the assumption that the next 4 years in the United States is going to be great. And then as soon as Trump leaves, everything will go to shit. You know how many assumptions you're making that are statistically improbable? The likelihood is the next 4 years, the United States is going to be a fucking nightmare. Not this year, maybe not 2025, but 26, 27, 28. Like I said, I wouldn't wait and say, well, Trump's going to fix everything in 4 years, so good I have 4 more years. I've written numerous articles about this in my blogs. I've discussed this on numerous videos. You're not including any data in that decision. You're only including feelings. You can't make decisions, big life decisions, based on your feelings. You have to make big life decisions based on facts, data, objectivity, and rationality, unfortunately. And you can't show me any data that shows that Trump's going to fix all this, especially when Trump is the number 2 biggest contributor to American collapse when he was president the first time, by spending money faster and raising the debt and deficit spending faster than any other president in world history before the pandemic started, as I wrote about in my blog at the time. What is the best program to go from 1K a month in my business to 10K a month besides Business Builder? Well, if you already have a business, you don't want Business Builder because that's not for people who already have a business. I still haven't my niche 100% nailed down. Oh, Business Builder then. Niche, nuance, founder sanctum. Oh, you're talking about besides Business Builder? Founder sanctum. What's niche, nuance? Never heard of that. Founder sanctum is Billy's program. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. For a pre-sale for an ebook, what page do you recommend for a pre-sale page? Would you produce a landing page for this on a blog? Yes. Yeah, keep it simple. If you already have a blog, set up another page on WordPress and do a landing page right there with a PayPal button or a Stripe button. Yes, it'll be fine. If Panama uses American dollars, are they really safe from economic collapse? I never said Panama was safe from economic collapse. I never said that. I said it's a good backup flag because it is. Do you still do Armenia residency? Not really. No. If you really ask Billy nicely, she might do it. She handles the residency programs now, but technically we don't. We didn't have enough people who wanted it. We had a few people who did it, but not enough. But bosscooperative.com, ask Billy, hey, I really want to do Armenian residency. Can you hook me up? And she might say yes. It's up to her. What do you think about setting up my business in the UAE for my B2B? My perception is that in Europe, business owners still view UAE as a tax haven, but in a bad way. You're wrong. They don't think that. Most Europeans do not give a shit. Now, what you can also do is, we have a lot of people do this, my clients do this when I do consulting and stuff or coaching, is that you set up your UAE corporation, then you set up a corporation in your ex-Western country, like you set up a UK corporation that is owned by the UAE corporation. You can do that. And so now you just give people the name of the UK corporation and it looks normal. And it goes right into the Dubai Corp. So that's how you do it. That's the workaround. Is this more difficult for an 18-year-old? No. Recently, a big company in my niche relocated to the UAE, so the trend might be that the UAE is starting to become legitimate. Okay, UAE has been legitimate for a very, very, very long time. So you are completely wrong in your analysis. I know a lot of guys here who make way more money than me, who have been in Dubai quite a while before I got here. UAE is legitimate, and it's been legitimate for a long time. There's nothing business illegitimate about the UAE. What countries in Africa do you suggest? Go search on my Africa video on the Unchained CEO YouTube channel. I list all of them. What about using the country of Georgia as a backup plan? I don't think you could get, matter of fact, I know, you can't get residency in Georgia unless you move there. So it doesn't work as a backup plan. Remember, one of the requirements of backup is you have to be able to get legal residency there without having to move there. And I'm pretty sure in Georgia, you got to move there. I like Georgia. There are a lot of countries I like that don't have that requirement. Or that have that requirement, excuse me. Do you think Saudi Arabia will be the next Dubai? Yes. Yes, they are very motivated. They have no choice, so they have to. They're making a lot of dumb mistakes, but they're moving in the right direction, and they have to, and they're very motivated. Some other countries that are working on this is Qatar is working on this very, very hard. Bahrain is kind of working on this. So there's several future Dubais, but the one that will beat them is probably Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Not Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Similar to Dubai in the UAE, not Ajman or Ras Al Khaimah, UAE, right? Is Mexico a safe place to go if you have the cartels that rule the country? Cartels do not rule Mexico. You need to watch the video on this channel, Unchained CEO YouTube channel, called Is Mexico Safe? Watch that video. You're totally wrong. I watched 4K drone footage of Asuncion. It looks like a giant metropolis. It's not. What the fuck? You said it. I thought you said it was rough there. No, it's not a giant metropolis. There's about 1 million people there. There are buildings there. Yes, it's a city. It's not a little town. I didn't say it's, when I say rough, I mean the infrastructure isn't as good. I didn't say there are no buildings. There are fancy, fancy skyscrapers there in the rich areas, which is where I live, and where you would live. So yeah, again, go, if you are curious, go to Paraguay for a week and check it out for yourself. I have several videos on my YouTube channel of me walking around Asuncion. You can see those too. It's a city, but it's not a big metropolis. It's like 1.2 million people. Dubai is a metropolis. Asuncion is not. It's a city. It's a small city. Is 30-year-old with no driver's license degree that bad? No, I don't have a degree. I'm 53, 52. And I don't have a driver's license. I do have an American driver's license that I never use. Is it important to go to South America? No, none of that is required. No. None of these places give a shit about your driver's license. None of these places care about your education level. They do not care. None of them care. For early medical students paid for, do you recommend to stay and finish? Can you do a stream for medical professionals? I will not do a stream for medical professionals. That's a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of my audience. So it would be a waste of my time. Someone already above you mentioned this. The only reason you would go to med school is if you're going to be an Alpha 2.0 practitioner, which means as soon as you're done with med school, you're not going to go work in a clinic. You're not going to go work in a hospital. You're not going to do that. You're going to start your own medical practice, your own business, and you're only going to administer and work with patients remotely over Zoom and email. If your answer is, I can't do that, then I would quit immediately. Yes. If your answer is, yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do, then go ahead and finish. Your thoughts on the 18-year-old British guy jailed for a year in Dubai recently? I have no idea what you're talking about. Holiday romance with 17-year-old girl's mom. Scary article. Yeah, you're doing a scary article. And then, as always, when you read a scary article, look at the date of the article. I have a feeling the article you're talking about is from 2012, probably 10 years old. Matter of fact, I'd bet money that didn't happen recently. What do you think about Italy? It's getting better and better since COVID. That's a very general question. What about Italy? Where to live? Move there? I don't know what you mean. I love Italy. I love visiting there. I love Sicily because I'm Sicilian. I'm going to be in Italy for a month, probably, maybe this year. Maybe. I haven't decided yet. Would Armenia become high-tech and advanced in the coming 5 years or so? In 5 years? No, it would not. Do you think Japan will just stagnate or collapse the next 20 years? Hard to say. Probably collapse. Probably collapse, but that's really hard to say. They are, not only their birth rate's horrible, but they're doing literally everything wrong. They're raising taxes and doing a bunch of stupid shit. They're not, Japan is a tragedy. They're not mentally equipped to deal with the problems they're facing. Their brains are set like 300 years ago. It's the opposite of Dubai. Dubai is set for the modern era and the future. Japan is still thinking like it's 500 years ago and we don't need any immigrants and we can figure this out. We'll just raise taxes and yeah. If you move to Thailand or anywhere in Southeast Asia, could you get residency in Armenia when being in Southeast Asia? Sure. They don't care where you live. Also, once getting residency in Armenia and you live there for 3 to 6 months out of the year, would you advise to learn Russian? Learning a language is extremely difficult for adults. So I don't advise learning any language unless you're going to live there for much more than 3 months a year. So no. 6 months, maybe. I mean, I live in Paraguay 5 months a year. I don't know Spanish. And no one speaks English there. And I still get along. So, because learning a language is hard. It takes a lot of time. If you're 5 years old, it's easy. But if you're an adult, it's a nightmare. Other than Saudis, what other countries? I already answered that question. Just curious, how many residencies do you have right now? 5. And how many is your target? 5. Assuming the UK eventually imposes an exit tax, yeah, it could. That's why you get out now. You don't wait for them to impose an exit tax, which Canada kind of has. Will it likely affect only high net worth property holding individuals? Do you think? There's no way to know. What you're doing is you're making excuses. Ian S. You're making excuses. Well, I don't want to leave right now. If I left in 3 years, I mean, maybe they would have an exit tax, but maybe it only apply to, maybe it wouldn't apply to me. You're looking for reasons to stay, which is not your mindset, not the mindset you want. These kind of questions are excuse-making questions. Well, what if this? Then it would be okay if I stayed longer. Don't stay longer. Get out of there. Why are you still in the UK? I get visiting the UK. I love visiting the UK. I think it's great to visit. I love London to visit. I love Scotland to visit. Why are you living there? You're not making any sense. Hang on a second. I'm an American citizen and will be getting my Greek citizenship by descent in the next 3 to 6 months. Cool, good. Given Greece is Eastern Europe and not Western, plus Greece has the worst economy in Europe, how will Western collapse impact Greece? Doesn't matter if you don't live there. Get your passport and then don't go back. That's okay. You can have a passport in a collapsing country other than America because America charges you tax. But if you have a passport in Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, any of these shithole, European countries, that's fine. Take the passport, get it, and then get the fuck out of there and don't go back. Doesn't matter if they collapse or not. Thoughts on Dominican Republic? Already talked about that. What about residency permits? Sorry, excuse me. What about residency permits in Colombia or South Africa? South Africa, I wouldn't recommend at all for anything other than to visit for vacations. Colombia, you gotta be there 6 months a year and or buy real estate. So Colombia is not a good backup flag. It is a good living flag. You want to move there? Great, go. It's awesome. Colombia's the shit. So then get residency and then live there or live there most of the year. As a backup flag, not great. What about Albania? Pretty rough. That's a pretty rough place. A lot of people would not like Albania. Would you say it's similar to Montenegro? Similar, but Montenegro is much better. What are the next countries you're targeting for your next residencies? I'm not. I'm done getting residencies. I'm going after passports now. I'm done getting residencies. I'm good. For someone that had a criminal charge due to the IRS to an IRS tax issue, where can I get residency? I know many countries don't want people with such a background. Most places don't check your criminal background. So the list I just gave you, the only places that check criminal background is Paraguay. Mexico does not care. Dubai does not care. Armenia does not care. Panama does care. So Panama, I add that. And what I said, if you satisfied the thing on your criminal record, if you paid the fine or served the jail time or whatever, just get another sheet, you add it to your application, and then they're good. They don't care. You're fine. My attorneys I work with in Panama, they told me stories about Americans who committed murder, and they gave them Panamanian residency, not a passport, but residency. They were murderers because they said, yeah, I committed murder. I served 20 years in prison, and I'm all done. They're like, okay, good, you're good. As long as you serve your time. They don't care. Long time ago, I remember you were thinking of making Hong Kong was your home base. Yes, I was. What's stopping you from getting residency there? Is it too expensive? Or does it require that they stay there for long? You can't get residency in Hong Kong unless you live there. That's why. If you want to move there, move there. Same as in Colombia. Again, you got to differentiate between countries that give you residency without having to live there and countries that give you residency only if you live there. Hong Kong's awesome. Love Hong Kong. But you have to live there, get residency there. Any smaller cities in Paraguay, approximately 100,000 to 200,000? Yes, at least 4 of them. The greatest guitarist in the world is from Palermo, Sicily. His name is Matteo Mancuso. Check him out. All right. I can't wait to go back to Sicily. I love it. Oh, my God. It's just, there's something in my genetic structure that just makes me cry out for Sicily in Italy. It's a fucking mess of a country, but to go visit, oh, love it. New to this 5 flag thing, just wondering why all the hassle of getting all these residencies if you can easily do visa hopping. I explained that earlier. I'll explain it again. You don't live in one country 12 months a year anyways. For an international backup plan, that's what we're talking about here in this podcast. For an international backup plan, visa hopping won't work because what you want is a country you can go to live in when shit is hitting the fan all over the planet, when there's a massive pandemic, when the United States just collapsed, when there's a nuclear war. That's when you want access to your backup country. And if you just have a visitor's visa, they will turn you at the airport and say, get the fuck out of here. You're not coming to our country, which is exactly what happened in the pandemic. I experienced this myself. I saw this happen in airports. People were trying to get, during the pandemic, people were trying to get from Brazil to Paraguay. Okay? And I was at the airport and they were turning people away because I have a visitor's visa. I got a visa. Fuck you. Country's closed. And I just said, I'm a resident. I live there. They said, come on the plane. That's the difference. It's not a 5 flags thing. It's an international backup plan thing. If you're asking me why I have 5 residencies, I'm a maniac. I don't recommend anyone that you should have 5 residencies. I do for my own purposes. I'm not you. I have a different financial structure than you. I probably make a lot more money than you. I have more companies than you. I have other things in my life going on that you don't have. That's just for Caleb. 5 flags is a separate topic than international backup plan. And 5 flags does not mean 5 residencies. That's what 5 flags means. If you want to learn 5 flags on this YouTube channel, Unchained CEO, type in 5 flags. I leave at least 2 videos on an overview of how 5 flags works. It's not 5 residencies. That's not what 5 flags means. You're mixing up 2 things, I think. Hi, Caleb. What do you think? What's the amount of income an external should start an LLC in the USA? An external? What does that mean? It came up in my mind after you're internationalizing your tax stream. My advice, Billy gives different advice. Billy, if she was sitting here, would say, start an LLC as soon as you start your business. That's what she would say. My opinion is you should be making about $2,500 a month and then start your LLC. And if you're in the United States, it's LLC with an S election. All right, a few more questions, and then I'm going to be out of here. Just read Getting Things Done by David Allen. Good. Amazing stuff. How do you incorporate goals into the system? You don't. You have an overall comprehensive system, and David Allen's is a plug-in to that system. He just talks about to-do lists, right? And capture lists. Goals are separate from his system. If you want information on goals, read a Brian Tracy book. Read Maximum Achievement by Brian Tracy. That's the ultimate goal book, in my opinion. What are they called? The names of the cities. I don't remember. Do a quick Google search. Ask AI. Ask ChatGPT. It'll tell you right now. I don't remember. One is Concepcion. One is, I don't remember. Just do some Google searches. It's really easy. You can find that out in 10 seconds using Google. You said you're targeting a passport now. What countries do you have in mind? I cannot discuss that publicly on the advice of my attorneys. I can tell you my residencies, but not my passports. Can you please list your 5 residencies? Sure. America, UAE, Mexico, Armenia, Paraguay. All the ones I just recommended. Those are my 5 permanent residencies. Encarnacion. Okay, there's another one. I have permanent residency 5 years. In our Ciudad del Este is, Paulo, you're wrong. Ciudad del Este is more than 200,000 people, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it is. Or more than 100,000. I think he's asked for 100,000. I have permanent residency 5 years in Armenia as an international backup plan. Great. And also the place where I go to visit every year. Great. Do you think it's necessary to get a second one? I'm from Europe. No, I don't. One backup flag is all most people need unless you're doing something weird. So no, I think you're fine. If you're interested in getting residency in Mexico, go to bosscooperative.com and you click on the Cancun event, which is in February. Cancun's one of the best cities in the world to go for like vacation. I can't talk about something in Cancun. Shit, wrong channel. When you go to that event, you get business training from a bunch of coaches. They cover your flight, they cover your hotel, they cover your food, and they cover residency for one small fee, and it's only a few $1,000. And you get legal residency in Mexico, plus business training, plus the flight, plus the hotel, plus the food. It's an all-inclusive thing she's done. And that's in, I think, late February. I don't know the dates. Bosscooperative.com. Go there. Check it out. Okay. How we doing on time? Only an hour. Awesome. One of my shortest live streams. Cool. I'm trying to shorten these down a little bit. Is there anything else I want to say before I leave? There was something else. This wasn't it, but my book, Freedom Fortress, is done. The audiobook is done. We're getting it typeset right now. We're going to announce that book in about 3 or 4 days. And if you get the book, you have the opportunity to get in on something that some of you already know about. It starts, the initials of the program are A. It's not Alcoholics Anonymous. It's Alpha and then something else. Don't say what it is. If you get the book, and it's just a book, it's cheap. You have access, if you want, to work with me personally in a program over the next 8 weeks. Check your email. Watch your email if you're on my mailing list. And I'll announce it. I'll announce the book here too at YouTube. All that good stuff. Okay? Cool. Awesome. I will see you guys, those who are interested, those of you who are men interested in manly man topics. I will see you guys on Wednesday on the Alpha Male 2.0 live stream. And I'll see you back here next Monday. Cool? Cool. All right. Bye, guys.